Good morning. It's Friday, August 15th. I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard, taking a look at your Canadian Prairie weather story. Your headlines here, I think the biggest story has been the improved fire situation. We've really brought in heavy rainfall, repeated rounds of rain to some of these areas. We had the ongoing hot spots, a lot of smoke across the area, and we've really continued to bring that back. Scattered storms do continue. We're kind of between storm systems right now, but we've got another round of storms that'll be coming through over the next 3 to 4 days. And then as we get into next week, we're going to be bringing some heat into the region, especially across portions of southern Saskatchewan into Manitoba. A little bit cooler as you make your way further west, Alberta, Edmonton, or Alberta, I meant to say Calgary, up to Edmonton, over to Peace River, Grand Prairie, not quite as hot as we head into next week. Let's take a look at things though. The last 10 days of precipitation, we've had several rounds of, showers and storms, some pockets of heavier rainfall as we kind of focus in on the prairie. Drier here across southern Alberta. That was as forecast here, and then also as forecast, these heavier patches across central portions of Saskatchewan down into central and southern Manitoba. Also, getting north of an inch here across portions of central Alberta as well. Now, again, we continue to see this parade of really well defined storm systems. It's honestly been a little while since we've seen these tight little circulations across North America. You see one right there, and then here's the next one. So I mentioned we're kind of between them right now. We saw showers and storms over the last several days. It's going to be a little quieter today, but this next area of upper level low pressure marches right into the area over the weekend. And that's going to be bringing the next chance for showers and storms to portions of the prairie. So really nice organized areas of upper level low pressure continuing with this active pattern. The tropics starting to come to life as well down here. We've got Tropical Storm Erin continuing to intensify and organize here, expected to make a northward turn at some point here, but we'll be monitoring for potential impacts here across the east coast of North America. So here's that closer look at the radar. Again, not completely dry across the region, but the heavier activity certainly off to the east right now with the departing upper level low, and then off to the west with the incoming upper level low. So some very light shower activity across portions of central Alberta into southwestern portions of Saskatchewan. None of this really all that heavy though. A bigger look at the current fire weather index. Again, a lot of blue across the prairie provinces, and that is wonderful news. It's a bit drier here as you make your way further south. We do have some fires burning here just south of the 49th here across the high plains, the northern high plains of the U.S. So certainly drier across those areas, but we do have rain making their way through, or making its way through over the next several days as well across some of these areas. So again, improved fire, weather conditions across the prairie provinces. This is wonderful news here for not just you guys, but all the annoying folks down here in the U.S. who are complaining about the wildfire smoke. Current hot spots right now, again, we had a lot of them clustered across this area just 2 weeks ago. Repeated rounds of rain making its way through, though. We've kind of put those fires out, at least in the short term. Temperatures were on the cooler side, again, between storm systems right now. So we saw a cold front make its way through the area over the last 48 hours. So temperatures here on Friday morning, you can find some cool spots where, Edmonton area, 4-5 degrees. Calgary, a little warmer, around 10 degrees. Saskatoon down to Regina, you're probably anywhere from 6 to 9 degrees this morning, and a little bit warmer as you make your way over toward Winnipeg. You can find some temperatures around 13 to 15 degrees in that area. Here's how we can time out the next couple of days. Again, this is not going to be a widespread soaking rain event here through the weekend as this next upper level low makes its way through. Really, the entirety of the upper level disturbance doesn't really eject across the prairie. It kind of sends a little piece of it eastward through the weekend. You see that emerge here better as we get into Saturday. So you see these light showers that'll continue their journey through this area during the day today into tonight. They'll be in southern portions of Alberta at sunrise tomorrow. But here's the more organized area of low pressure where you can kind of make out the shape of that there. And then it's going to be along the front where we see those showers and storms firing up. I think they'll be most numerous as this disturbance gets a little bit further east on Sunday and Monday. This is when we'll start to kind of return some of the heat and humidity to the area, interacting with that disturbance, having an easier time generating some more intense shower and thunderstorm activity. Again, kind of maybe late Saturday into the day Sunday and then into Monday. So here's a plot of instability that's just showing kind of the fuel available for these thunderstorms. And as we start out Friday morning, we've really kind of neutralized the air mass across the prairie provinces. All the heat and humidity, the unstable atmosphere being kind of confined off to parts of the northern plains and the upper Midwest. But as I play this, you'll start to see it begin to work its way back in. It's kind of slow to do so, and that's why I think that the bigger risk for severe weather this weekend is going to be further east when we get the combination of the incoming storm system and the modifying and kind of destabilizing environment. So let me animate this. We'll kind of time it out. Check this out as we get to Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Just extremely unstable here across parts of the northern high plains, the upper Midwest. Very stable across the prairie. So again, I showed you those very light showers making their way across the region over the next 24 hours, but not an unstable environment for those to kind of tap into. So just some very light rain showers. As we get into Saturday afternoon and evening, you start to see it kind of poking back in here to southern portions of Saskatchewan. So can't rule out a couple of strong storms, honestly, back into central portions of Alberta, maybe a couple of small hail producing storms or some funnel clouds back in that area. And then as we get into Sunday, we see kind of the same thing. You see the air mass destabilizing here right in this corridor. Portions of central and southern Saskatchewan couldn't rule out a stronger storm here up towards central Alberta, on central and northern Alberta on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and then I think I can roll it into midday Monday. And you see really the same thing. So it's, again, not a widespread soaking rain event, but there's going to be 2, 3, maybe 4 days across this area where we've got an unstable air mass that could be supporting some of these locally severe and heavy rain producing thunderstorms. So be on the lookout, central and southern Saskatchewan, central and southern Manitoba, kind of Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I would call it August 16, 17, 18. Probably talking about severe weather, severe thunderstorms in the forecast, maybe some large hail. Can't rule out a couple of tornadoes with this as well. As you kind of look at the total precipitation that results from this, though, from the same model, this is the NAM, taking it from Friday through midday Monday. A lot of dry real estate out here. Again, some of these storms could produce locally heavy rainfall. You see the same thing with the European model. This is the same time frame. So beginning Friday morning, running it through midday on Monday, you see some heavier rainfall totals here and variable in nature. That's the European model, not really built to resolve thunderstorms, but it's trying to kind of illustrate that here with some locally heavy rainfall, but then a lot of areas kind of being left out. I think Manitoba, you'll eventually get it here. The model just not run out that far yet. It'll be more like Monday evening, Tuesday that Manitoba gets it. But southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan, you're probably on the drier side over the next week. And then even back here across portions of central Alberta, you just don't get the juice back there before this system rolls through over the weekend. So lighter showers, maybe a couple stray thunderstorms, but not really expecting a lot of heavy rain there this weekend into early next week. Now, as I show the next 2 weeks, the pattern does continue to be relatively active, but you can probably pick out a couple of patterns here, a couple of, what I'm trying to say is a couple things jump out to me. One is the hole right here across southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan. It is what it is. This is kind of a more arid region. You guys more frequently get rain shadowed by a pattern like this. So this is an unfortunate byproduct just of you being in kind of a less favorable area here just in general, and that's just going to be the fact of the next 2 weeks. I'm going to jump on to the next thing that I notice here, which is excluding this area right here, knowing that we've got this ridge of high pressure that's going to be kind of building and amplifying itself here, and I'll show you that on the next couple of slides. Still looks like we get disturbances kind of rolling over the top of that, bringing at times corridors of heavy rain right through this region here. So the pattern does, in general, stay active across the Canadian prairie. It's just southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan. You're probably on the drier side. You can take solace in the fact that the pattern stays active around you, and so maybe you overachieve. Maybe you cash in on one of these fronts, and it's just not being resolved here very well by the model. So the window of opportunity for storm systems across Western Canada, most certainly open. We'll look at this in a couple different ways. This is the European ensemble, the probability of picking up half an inch of rain or more over the next 2 weeks. So all the way through, this is through August 27th. You can see the lower probabilities kind of right here, but then we've got that 80 to 90% threshold being met here across a lot of Western Canada. Take it all the way up to an inch, though. Now we're talking about the probability of picking up an inch or more. Again, the drier spot really jumping out to you here, but you're also noticing there's not a lot of real estate here where we've got that high confidence of an inch over the next 2 weeks. So this kind of gets at what I'm kind of, my bigger message here is the pattern stays active. But I do think it leans a little bit drier than the last 2 weeks. I think the next 2 weeks a bit drier than the last 2 weeks were, but we still have every 3 to 4 days a storm system kind of rolling across the region. And it's kind of illustrated here as I kind of zoom out. I've shown this map as well, the probability of picking up less than half an inch of rain over the next 2 weeks. So this is kind of a look at who is dry at this time with a pattern like this. And what I kind of noticed is the last couple of times that I've shown this, going back to kind of the end of July, a lot of the orange and the red shading has been really confined to this area as the pattern has stayed just extremely active east of the Rockies. And what I'm noticing now is, we've still got the really dry real estate here, but you're starting to see it kind of expanding into parts of the plains, kind of expanding into southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan. We're kind of repeatedly getting mist in that area. And now with this big building ridge of high pressure out in this area over the next 7 days, not expecting that to get better in the near term. So I'm not, calling this a late August into September, sudden flip to a flash drought, but it does look like over the next 2 weeks, high pressure, warmer air, a little, drier pattern trying to kind of work its way in here. And that's illustrated here as we look at the 500 millibar height pattern. So we're looking at 500 millibar pressure. The bluer areas are where we have low pressure. The red, orange shaded areas are where we have higher pressure. And right now, this is a very stormy look, and that's what we're dealing with here. You get these upper level lows moving through the area. See the lines tightly packed. That is strong jet stream flow. Where we have strong jet stream flow this time of year, where we have these upper level lows, that's where we're going to get the stormy conditions. So again, I showed you, we have one departing storm here. We have another incoming here, but as I also mentioned here, let me go ahead and bring this back up. As I also mentioned, this next one doesn't really fully eject. So let me pause. I'm misclicking here is what's going on. You're hearing me kind of stalling with my talking. So check it out. The first one evacuates the area, and we would love to see this one fully eject and make its way in. But really, as we get into the weekend, early next week, as I showed you, a little piece of that rumbles through, but in general, the upper level low kind of retrogrades back west, maybe not quite as far as I drew that line, but back over the Pacific, and instead, we start to see that ridge of high pressure here starting to build and expand to the northeast and kind of impinge on the prairie. So this is going to allow, again, some warmth to build in across the region, and this also is going to at least temporarily slow down the shower and storm activity across the region. But the pattern continues to wobble and evolve such that as I get kind of to mid next week, you're seeing something here where we're suppressing the ridge. It's kind of confined here to the Four Corners region of the U.S. You see a little bit of a disturbance trying to make its way through here, and those lines are very tightly packed together once again. So this kind of suggests to me that we're going to dip our toe in some heat, some drier weather, but I don't hate the pattern as it continues to look rather favorable for at least some timely rain across the area. We're in a bit of a transitional period here, late August, getting into September, where the jet stream is just kind of weaker by nature. A lot of our teleconnections were kind of like searching for some longer range clues, but what I'm just not seeing is a pattern shift into any one particular thing for a long duration. So here you can kind of see we got cooler air across the prairie right now. We get into the weekend, early next week, we allow some warmth, some heat to build across the region. Warmest across southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, and southern portions of Manitoba. But then the heat starts to back off as we get into late next week. So this is, again, not a runaway ridge. This is going to allow some cooler air to filter right back in, around days 5, 6, and 7. Before some maybe heat builds back in, on the back side of that. So really a pattern that continues to ebb and flow is a pretty friendly pattern to us here this time of year. You see this, the week 1, week 2 on the right here, the European ensemble precipitation forecast, precipitation to departure from normal. You see the green shading here across much of the prairie, brown here across southern Alberta, southwest Saskatchewan continues to be the drier spot. But week 2, again, the ridge builds in, but you don't see a sudden flip to, these really dark colors down here, brown, red, shading, which is what you would expect here for a much drier signal. And instead, it's closer to average, if not a little wetter than average here across the prairie as we get into the August 21st and 28th timeframe. I'll show you the longer range precipitation forecast here before we wrap things up. You see the departing upper level low right here. The next one that we are kind of watching to send a piece our way as we get into the weekend. So here's your Saturday. This is now your Saturday night. This is your Sunday. You'll see kind of repeated rounds of showers and storms across this region of southern Saskatchewan into southwestern Manitoba late Saturday, Sunday, and again on Monday. This is your Tuesday, getting into Wednesday, a little drier, a little warmer. But as we get into mid to late next week, kind of Wednesday night into Thursday and Friday, I mentioned we kind of squashed the ridge once again, allowing another corridor of these ridge riding thunderstorms to begin to develop across the prairie. The date up here on the top. Again, this is Wednesday, getting into Thursday, August 21st, 22nd. There's another low rumbling across the area. So maybe not the highest confidence in the world in the exact timing and evolution of this, but I've got high confidence in, check it out, here comes one more. We get into August 26th, 27th, this pattern that just continues to send organized disturbances here. We get to tap into some high pressure for a few days before we kind of next week get back into August 23rd through 30th is what that kind of looked like. August 21st through August 30th, another pretty stormy period across the prairie, across much of Western Canada, to be honest with you. So your next 10 days in Calgary, again, not really exposed to the breadth of the ridge here, so a little warmer on Tuesday with a high of 27. Some flexibility in there. You could maybe overachieve, get to 28, 29, maybe flirt with 30 on the hottest day here. Edmonton, a little cooler still, 24 currently, your hottest day forecast on Tuesday. But you see the ridge, the heat building a little more, intensity in areas across Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So 27, 28. Wouldn't rule out the potential you're getting up close to 30 degrees early next week. Regina, you got the same here, 30 degrees, your forecast high for Tuesday and Wednesday. Same thing, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually overachieve here and do experience some temperatures here in the lower 30s across portions of central and southern Saskatchewan. Winnipeg, the ridge is a little later here, Tuesday, Wednesday, and kind of the warmest days as forecast right now, August 19th and 20th. So I'll talk to you again next Friday, August 22nd, which, as forecast right now, should be right in the thick of another shot of cooler air across the prairie. We'll see how well that verifies, but in general, pattern continues to have some variety, continues to ebb and flow, and continues to bring at least timely rainfall chances to Western Canada. I'll talk to you again a week from today.